Hello everyone, and welcome to another read-along. This is your friendly heads-up warning that we are going to be going into a critical reading of Zenith. That means it will not only contain every single spoiler, but if Zenith is one of your favorite books and you cannot stand to see it ripped apart into little tiny pieces, then this isn't the review for you. See you next time. Thanks for playing. Alright, we're back with more Zenith. Hooray.
Yay!
Has food.
Makes me happy.
Yeah. Chapter 22 is from Androma's point of view. Oh, we're in italics, so possibly we are in the past. Alright, we are now reliving when Andy took Kaylee, the girl she was supposed to be, the general's daughter who she was supposed to be kind of like guarding. They went for their pleasure cruise, and then Kaylee died. And it's all stuff we already know. And we already know that Andy feels super, super guilty about it. So, like, while it might be interesting to actually see the event, we don't need it, because it's already been thoroughly expressed. Unless there's something within this event that's going to help us with something later in the story, which there might be, but we'll see, I guess.
So wait, Andy killed the general's daughter on a date?
Yes.
Huh.
The book's not going to call it a date, but now I am. She was Kaylee's specter, which I think is just like a bodyguard. So far, this has just been us being told about their relationship. Again, we're not getting to see it, we're just being told it. This is the whole chapter to show us something we didn't need to see, and instead it's using it to tell us they were the best of friends, they helped each other through their hang-ups, blah, 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 blah. We already know.
Do you know it down deep?
Yes.
Has it been drilled into your subconscious?
It has. It super has. Okay, we found out something. I don't know if we need the whole chapter for this, but they sneak past Vallon's room, and they mention that Vallon is weird and violent. So, like, potentially we find out that he's always been weird and violent, if he's going to be weird and violent later in this book. So that whole sequence of unnecessariness was just so Andy could wake up and realize that she was in the prison. Yay. Wow. You can tell when the authors are trying to hit romance a little too hard. To start off their bar fight, Andy kissed Dex. And then, you know, the other girls could be like, oh, you whore, and start attacking Dex for some reason. And now she's in the prison place after just dreaming about her best friend who died. And she's thinking about that kiss that she shared and how much it melted her. And I'm just like, wow. And that's the end of that chapter, and we're on to chapter 23 with Vallon. Vengeance will be mine, Vallon, everyone's favorite character. We learned now that Vallon has survivor's guilt about his dead sister, and he blames himself for not stopping her. Also, of course, he hates Andy because he also blames her for his sister's death. A lot of sister death anger going on here. Oh no, that's just negligent. Apparently he was a painter, and he loved the way the paint on his brushes dried when he didn't wash them. You royal fuck. You're just like, I can let the paint dry. I don't need to use the same brushes twice. I'll just get new ones. I hate him already.
Damn. Yeah.
Wasteful, Vallon. Wasteful. He heard Kaylee and Andy leaving for the joyride, and apparently he like ninja'd after them. So it's like even more his fault. I don't know, I would have preferred it if he had survivor's guilt about it because he's like slept through it instead of him actually like following them. That's just my preference, I guess.
Sorry, I got distracted by my game.
You always do.
I don't always. It depends. It's like active engagement in your guilt or passive engagement in your guilt. Because the way they have it written, they could have actively done something different. They were there, they were awake, they were conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is a passive version of guilt, where they were asleep, and so they couldn't do anything.
Which, I don't know, I personally feel it's like a little bit more powerful if it's like hating yourself for something you couldn't have prevented. To me.
See, for me, it's the other way around.
What do you think? Leave a comment below. Which is your favorite kind of guilt? That was basically the chapter. Him feeling guilty about not stopping his sister. Him painting a picture of Andy with blood running down her face. That sure was a chapter that happened. Did I say I was stopping at 24, or I was reading?
There is no stopping now.
There is. You can't.
This is life for you.
It might be. Chapter 24, which is from Androma's point of view. And she's waking up again the second time. She woke up in the last chapter. She's also waking up in this one. So glad we had that last chapter to establish that she still feels guilty about killing her best friend. You know what might have been interesting here, actually, and maybe it's coming. Instead of those 2 chapters about their relationship with Kaylee, the dead girl, it would have been interesting to see, like, a chapter in the past of Andy's relationship with Vallon. So we could see a little bit of, like, what their dynamic used to be, as I'm certain we're going to be getting what their dynamic is now, that, like, obviously a lot of things have changed and he's been in prison for a while and all that stuff. We'll probably get flashbacks like that later as the book goes on, but I would have put one here, right as she wakes up, to kind of prime us for that, and then never again. Just one to let us know what their relationship was, and then not anymore. So Andy reaches down to feel that her cuffs are still there, and I feel like she would know if they weren't, because wouldn't that mean that her wrists would literally fall apart? Like, I think she'd notice. We're back with the rest of chapter 24. Yes, the rest of chapter 24. Because the memory card was full and it turned off. So we were like so close to being done, and then it was like, yep, bye. So we'll see. That's why I'm wearing different clothes in the middle of a chapter. I was just like, no, I need to change.
And since it is evening, Avi has had their midday nap and is now back out to harass us again.
Yeah, so the fare's the same. Fortunately, Andy's cool arm thingies that also happen to be keeping her wrists from just falling apart also have flashlights on them. So they're wandering around this dark prison cell, but they have flashlights now, so... So here's a slight problem that they don't seem to have thought of. They don't know how long they were unconscious after, like, they were knocked out, they're put in this cell, and they don't know how long they've been in here. And they have an hour from when they got in here to rescue that guy before their guard friend turns them in to save her own ass. And I feel like that's a rather huge oversight. Like, they could have been in there for, like, 40 minutes, and they have no time now.
What you want to say is it could have been in there for 60 minutes, and now they have no time.
And then their captor's like, oh, I'm going to report them escaped. They haven't even escaped yet.
The guard gets reprimanded for, like, what are you talking about?
Reporting escaped prisoners that are clearly right there. Guard is like, I hate you all. Guard is my favorite character, by the way, and she's not going to matter again, and that makes me incredibly sad. Well, now they're going to have a conversation. Finally, 2 characters decide to have a conversation instead of just remember things about each other, and it's in the middle of a prison cell when they probably should be quiet. I wonder about all of these people. So, Andy and Dex were put in a cell together, and their guard lady had only said that they were likely to be put in a cell near each other because for whatever reason this time of year is like more prisoner heavy, and so they would be put in the overflow cells, which would be close to each other. But now Andy and Dex are in the same cell, and they've just broken out of that cell to find that, like, none of the other cells around them are occupied. So why were they put in the same cell? Did we mention that Andy is just so angsty and filled with soul pain? Like, Dex was making fun of her. He's like, are you scared? As she's looking down the black hallway or whatever, and it says she feared a lot of things. Loneliness, losing the lives of her crew, or damaging her ship beyond repair. Need I remind you that her ship is made of glass? And then it says, but not darkness. That was part of her, the very thing that allowed her to survive for this long. She's just so edgy, like the queen of edgy. Play some, what's a good, like, emo band?
Simon and Garfunkel, but that's old emo.
No, that's
no?
Not, like,
no,
it was never emo.
Oh.
She talks about the Bloody Baroness taking over as though it's like an alternate personality, but we never really get the idea that it is. It's just more like when she gets filled with her bloodlust. But I don't really understand it, because like I said, she'll get filled with this bloodlust, and then she'll just sort of be like, ho-hum, I'm filled with bloodlust now. So, I don't know. I don't get what, like, I don't know what these authors are trying to do most of the time. I find myself being like, what are you doing most of this book? we've reached the end of that chapter, and now I'm going to stop, and Adam and I are going to film some other things.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which you might even get to see before you get to see this.
So it'll be easier to edit.
Yeah, and well, I usually like to get most of the way through the book before I start putting it out, because I want to make sure that
idea how long it's going to take you to get
yeah, and I want to make sure I can keep up with the schedule. Next we will read chapter 25, which is Dex again, and we'll probably get to hear about how dark and yet sexy Andy is. Bet money on it. Hello everyone, welcome back. I lied to you before when I said there might be some of these for a little while without Adam because he was going to be gone for work, and he was. But instead of doing this, I watched Netflix. So, life choices were made by me. But now he's back, and I have no excuse not to keep reading. I mean, we're plugging through. You know, you guys have been waiting so long for these. It doesn't feel like we're making good time, but you know. We're with Dex again, doing whatever this shithead is doing. So Dex is walking through the prison with Andy, and 2 guards found them, but Andy just murdered the fuck out of them with her bare hands. And Dex is busily fantasizing about women who don't do that, even though it's pretty demonstrably his type. It's like, gee, I would like to be with a woman who didn't murder everyone. But they now have some, like, energy whips from the guards and also a key, so that's exciting.
Were they ever actually imprisoned?
Well, they kind of were. Like, they were put in the cell, but it wasn't locked or whatever because, like, their inside person, the torturer lady, made sure it wasn't. So we still don't know how long they were in the cell because they were unconscious for a while, an undetermined amount of time, which again seems like a huge oversight when you have a time limit.
Yeah.
But whatever. So anyway, Andy, just to prove that she is very brutal, not only is she like got a key, but she stabbed one of the guards in the eye with it, which then makes me think this is like a futuristic prison place. But they use, like, keys, like regular old-fashioned keys. Not key cards, key chips, scanners, voice recognition, keys. You can stab people with.
You should have a high-tech spiky crystal that is the
yeah.
key. And then you can still stab
that would be
somebody
cool and
with
different.
it.
That would be cool and different. You could still stab somebody, but it wouldn't be a key. I feel like these authors really wanted to write a fantasy book. And instead, they wrote a sci-fi book. And I don't know why. Because you can have, like, maybe it's because, they want to have aliens. But, like, you can make up whatever races you want in your fantasy book. Because they want towers, they want castles, they want kings and queens. They want keys. The glass ship could be a ship that sails on the water. And it could still be made of glass because it's fantasy. What the fuck ever? You know? Enchanted glass. I don't understand why this is a sci-fi. Andy has switched on, like, hyper-competent murder mode. She is just killing people and being like, we have to hide the bodies, let's go. You know, very, like, straightforward murder efficiency. He's also worried that, like, she has lost all of her empathy because apparently once Andy felt things to the point that it nearly broke her, and she allowed her feelings to control every action. But now apparently she's gone murder Vulcan. Or at least he's worried that she has. I'm certain that when we get to Andy's chapter, she will be very emotional about all this murder that she's just done, because that seems to be her MO. Like, she kills the crap out of people. She feels a little bad about it afterwards.
A little.
A little. We can't make her too vicious so the readers won't like her. I want to follow torturer girls, so, you know, I'd be fine. Alright, book, we get it. She's murdery. It keeps dragging the point on and on. She's so brutal, she's so efficient, she's so beautiful but deadly. Like, alright, you can say that in like 2 sentences and then we get it. Oh, she remembers them, because Dex is like, you just killed those fuckers. And she's like, I remember them, Dex, she said, every last one. So, like, she killed a bunch of people on a planet, like, from orbit, I'm pretty sure. Does she remember every last one of them?
Maybe it's like Gimli and Legolas, and it's just like, yeah.
What's her kill count?
I'm at 113,000. I remember them.
Dex,
We won.
Dex thinks it's like a moment of her being human, and in fact, she's like just like sharing her pride in her kill count. Like, I remember all my kills. It's the best time.
Like, you just bombarded them from space.
That still only counts as one.
This chapter ends with Dex realized something frightening. He loved this, fighting beside her in perfect sync, a fluid team. He didn't do any fighting beside her. She did all the killing, and he stood there being horrified that she was brutally killing these people. What do you mean fighting beside her, a fluid team? He did jack shit.
Sometimes that's a very important role.
Just standing there looking disgusted as she stabs someone in the eye.
Yes. You need, like, if a tree falls in a forest.
If a guard gets stabbed in the eye and no one's around to see it, did he actually die horribly?
Yeah. Like,
Alright, we're on to chapter 26, which is with Claren, who I believe, I think, is the queen in the past. We're in italics again. Damn, she had a kid, so maybe this is the mother of the current queen? That or something horrible is going to happen to her baby. Okay, this person, Claren, is the mother of current queen Noor, the evil queen. What mother says this to their baby? Like, she loves her baby, but she says to her, "Sleep now, my perfect little mistake." I'm pretty sure parents don't say that to their baby. I mean, maybe they do. I've never had a baby, but, like, I've never heard my mother say that to any of my siblings.
none of you have been perfect.
Oh, okay. We were all mistakes, but none of us were perfect. And also, the very end alludes to a mission, and she has very little time left, and I don't know what that means. And chapter 27, we're here with Vengeance Shall Be Mine, Vallon. Oh yeah. Gonna get his ass rescued. Did we ever find out what because, like, he made them stop beating him by being like, stop, and they were like, okay. And I assume that he was then going to, like, tell them some information that they wanted. But we haven't found out what that is. He said, "Vengeance will be mine, take a drink." Okay, so Vallon is sitting in here, like, freshly whipped. And I don't know if this is the beating where he asked them to stop, or if this is a different beating. Like, what's the timeline? And did they continue to then give him more beatings? Because, like, did he not ask them to stop again? I'm confused.
Vallon asked them to start again.
Oh, okay. He realized he was into it, and was like, no, go back to beating me, I like it.
Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Alright, so basically the end of this is just Dex and Andy coming to save him. Several jags about how, like, sexily badass and brutal Andy is. Vallon, like, remembering her, and being like, oh, she betrayed my sister. And then an alarm starts going, and that's the end of the chapter. So, clearly, they should have paid better attention to their timeline, because they did not have any way to keep track of their timeline. Shitty plan. They deserve whatever comes to them for that shitty plan. I'm going to stop now, though, and go get some dinner, and I might record more tonight, or I might not. I might watch Netflix. So, we'll see. Hey, we're back. Mostly you can see me, because Adam's, like, doing businessy things.
Business.
Yes, business. And so's Avi. She's helping. Yes, I am wearing a Christmas robe with penguins on it. Thank you for asking. Don't worry, I have got clothes on underneath. Don't panic. So I'm not gonna take the robe off. We're gonna read chapter 28, which is from Androma's point of view. And they have timed their prison break to happen exactly when the alarm's going off, for maximum excitement. Avi is here. Avi, why don't you read the book? Let's read the book. What do you think? Is it good? Is it good? High quality? I don't know, I'm a ferret. I'm a ferret, and I don't read. Do you like sci-fi, Abby? She's also sitting still to read this book longer than she usually sits anywhere ever, so that's exciting. Is it a good book? Did you like it? 5 out of 5 stars? So, the alarm was sounding, of course, and they had to deal with Vallon, who is, like, in pretty bad shape from being, like, beaten all the time. So, they knocked him unconscious.
But he likes it.
But he likes it. But he's still in bad shape. So, they knocked him unconscious with a single blow, as you do in stories. And they are now fighting off guards with his unconscious body, like, dangling between them. Because they're just that badass. To be fair, while the fight scenes are not very realistic or believable, they are fun. Like, when these authors actually just let you have a fight scene instead of bogging it down with all these memories and angst and telling you how awesome... There's a little bit of that. There's a little telling you how awesome Andy is, but not as much as there usually is. And when they back off from all of that other stuff, they write pretty, readable fight scenes. They're not realistic in any way, but whatever, it's sci-fi. I am curious, the guards have whips mostly, and one of them just threw a dagger that hit Andy in the shoulder. Wouldn't a maximum security prison like this have guns as well as daggers? And then, this is a funny image. So, I imagine a dagger's not super long, and especially a throwing dagger, because it just got, like, stuck in her shoulder. Sorry, throwing knife. Not even a dagger, a throwing knife. And Andy, like, yanked it out of her shoulder, and then it says, she rushed down the stairs, swinging the knife. Which does not strike me as a very competent fight move. That's more like I picture, like, ugh, I'm swinging a knife, a tiny little knife. You don't swing a knife. You usually jab with it. So I don't know how good Andy actually is at fighting.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
And then Dex here, who continues to be just a lovely person, threw Vallon down the stairs because he didn't want to carry him. I think he knocked a guard off his feet on the way, though, so definitely worth it. Definitely throw the unconscious, beaten guy down the stairs. He's fine. Also, this chapter will not stop switching between POVs for no good reason. I do not understand why. Like, every 2 or 3 paragraphs it switches POVs, and I don't understand what on earth that accomplishes. These characters are together. They are fighting the same fight. They have the same goal. There's nothing that you get from one that you couldn't get from the other, so just pick a POV and stick with it. Oh, see now, Soyina, my favorite character, has a gun, because, as was foreshadowed, her plan is to kill them and then, like, send them out with the corpses. I mean, she could have maybe lethally injected them or something, but whatever, shooting them is fine. But, like, she has a gun. Why didn't anyone else have a gun? She's a torturer. She would be the one who wouldn't have a gun, and the other guards would. I don't understand this prison. We're now on to chapter 29, which is from Noor's point of view, and I am going to go check on my pizza. I don't know if this works. So, we find out that Queen Noor has a lab, which all we really find out about it is that it didn't do what it was intended to. Like, I guess it was supposed to save everybody after the war or during the war or something. But it says that Dream had died with her father. Now this old lab had morphed into the birthplace of death. I don't think by its very nature that death can have a birthplace. It's just an awkward thing that, like, made my brain go, huh? And you want to avoid those in your writing. These authors have to tell you everything, and it's really annoying. So they're really in love with tiny details that don't matter. Noor goes down to her father's old lab, which apparently she hasn't been to before. It's, like, underground, and when they open the door, there's this horrible, like, smell of, like, formaldehyde and decaying bodies. So she puts a scented handkerchief over her nose. That's fine. But then we have to hear about not only what the handkerchief smelled like, but that it was her mother's favorite flower and where and how that flower is grown. And I'm like, what is this doing? Stop. So apparently the lab is making something called Zenith, which is a weapon. So we have title drop, everyone. Page 183, title drop. Here's a good example of more words than you need. Are you in the final stages of finishing the weapon yet? A writer who breathes more words than he needs is making a chore for the reader who reads. So Dr. Seuss says.
Who's Dr. Seuss?
I've introduced another character who seems like a gimmick. Is probably not going to be a consistent character. It's a scientist with two heads. And we spent quite a while talking about how, like, you'd think that two brains would mean two distinct personalities, but no, it doesn't. It means that they both work together in perfect unison in this particular alien person. And then immediately after telling us that, the heads argue with each other. But you just told us that they don't have two separate personalities. So why are they fighting? Spoilers chapter. Apparently, Andy and her people have already escaped, and we don't get to see it, I guess. Because the Queen's like, I need a test subject for my new super awesome biological weapon. And so they bring in the warden of the prison, because she has failed by letting Andy and Vengeance Will Be Mine, I'm sorry, go. And I'm like, well, way to take all of the tension out of whether or not they're going to escape, I guess. Before the Queen injects this person with her super weapon, Adam, what do you think it's going to do?
Turn him into a Bugman.
Bugman? Okay. I'm thinking mutation as well, because if it's just a poison, like, it seems like a waste. But mutation, of course we're not going to find out in this chapter, but we'll find out later, I'm sure. So place your bets now in the comments. What's it going to do? Chapter 30, we're on to Claren's point of view, which I believe is in the past. So did they tell us what caused the unified systems to destroy, or like, not destroy, but like ruin Queen Noor's planet? Because we've gone back in time to when that's happening, and the king's like, the unified systems are coming, they're gonna destroy our planet. What do we do? I can't remember why. Why was this war? And why was this planet in particular being, like, ruined so it's not habitable? Alright, so things have happened. Twists have been twisted. The Queen sends the king and baby Noor to, like, a bomb shelter, and she goes out and gives herself to the enemy because she is a yielded, which we still don't know what that means. I assumed that she could explode herself or something because she's acting like she's gonna die. And maybe she still will. But when she gets to the enemy ship, who should be capturing her but General Cortas himself, who you remember his son was captured by Noor. And maybe we knew that already. Maybe I'm like, it's a twist, but we knew that already because I'm not retaining this book very well. But I feel like we didn't quite know exactly how they were connected until now. All the pieces are coming together, Adam. They're coming together. Chapter 31 is really fucking short, so I'll read chapter 31, and then I will stop for now. And it's from Androma's point of view. And a lot of it's all in italics, so we are in the past again. Probably because she's unconscious right now, because she was shot. And she might be dead, I don't know. But it's Andy and Vallon. So apparently Vallon was a fucking creeper. Because apparently he used to follow Andy around. So that's creepy. Alright, so that chapter is basically... The girls wanted, Kaylee and Andy are still making their way to the ship to have their fatal joyride, and they encounter Vallon on the stairs, and he's like, where you going? And they're like, none of your business, and then they're rude to him. But he is really creepy. If the authors are going for, like, somebody who's got that really subtle, creepy guy vibe, women in my audience know what I'm talking about. Just that vibe that makes you, like, want to stay away from this guy. They're doing a really good job, because he is throwing off that vibe like crazy. So we'll see, like, because I think he's going to be, like, messed up from all the torture or whatever. So we'll see, like, is he still like that, or is he worse, or maybe they aren't trying to do that at all, and he's supposed to be just, like, mysterious and interesting, but instead he's coming off as really fucking creepy. I had a thought, though, because I'm like, okay, they're rescuing this guy from Queen Noor, but, like, he, as we established, he had that moment where he was being tortured, and then he asked them to stop, and then she came in, and she was like, man, I don't remember what she said, but, like, she probably made him into, like, a double agent or something, like...
Tortured him and broke his mind, and so now he's a plaything and will
Exactly.
flip-flop.
Yeah, so, like, probably Andy is just rescued, like, this guy who's going to turn on her, which, considering how creepy he was originally, won't be that much of a twist for him. But I'm going to stop here at chapter 32, which is from Lyra's point of view. Lyra is the second in command, I remember her. We're getting there, guys. I think we're almost getting close to being halfway. Alright, we got a little bit more before halfway, but we're getting there. Maybe I'll try to read some every night this week, if I can. Anyway, I'll see you when I see you. Hey everyone, it's that time again. Time to shout out my patrons. Lennox, Amanda, Thelia, Jenny, Joseph, Kim, Lisa, Sabby Panda, Sam, Sarah, Savvy, and Scribbling Cat. Thank you all so much for being my patrons. You guys rock.